and that plan was never implemented. You know, you could say the same thing about number 8 green, which was built just in a you know, one-off type, let's fix this hole. So again, ideally it'd be nice to have an opportunity to get all 18 holes to sort of meld together aesthetically and restore some design continuity throughout the course, screens, bunkers, that sort of thing. Certainly goes a long way to making the golf course you know, as aesthetically pleasing as it can be. And again, from a architectural perspective, I even played the golf course today, which is an incredible shape, the turf quality. But to be quite honest with you, I've been fortunate to play a lot of good golf courses over the last 20 years, studying for my profession, and I cannot call the greens here at the Derrick Club architecturally very interesting. You know, there's a few, such as number 8. I hit my ball in the back of it today and I popped back to the front. That was actually quite interesting. But, you know, overall, I think if we get into a situation where we're trying to fix the function of the golf course, which is the sole thing that's driving this golf course improvement plan. We need to fix these drainage and soil issues, etc. But it's going to give us an opportunity to redesign the greens to make them a little bit more interesting architecturally than they are right now. That's a picture of a golf club, or a golf course in Rhode Island in the United States. It's called Wanamoyset. Very prestigious club. They host the Northeast Amateur Championship, which is a very old, prestigious golf championship back east. The reason I put this picture up, this is basically the style that I have envisioned for what would fit very nicely here at the Derrick Club. If you look at that style of green and that style of bunker, I think it would be a very, very good fit. Wanamoyset's also in a kind of an urban residential area. Got a very classy, relatively simple, but at the same time dramatic look about it. Similarly, that's Essex Golf and Country Club in Windsor, Ontario. Both Wanamoyset and Essex were designed by Donald Ross, a famous old golf architect who worked in the 20s and 30s. Again, it's a style I think that would fit very well here at the Derrick. Sticking on the subject of greens, if you've reviewed the plan in any detail, you'll see that I've got some areas in and around greens where I'd like to introduce some short grass areas. Right now, you know, most of your greens are flanked by either rough or bunkers, which, you know, by comparison, presents similar recovery shots on too many holes, hole after hole. You know, miss the green right or miss the green left, you're either playing from sand or rough. And I think it'd be interesting to kind of wrap some short grass, you know, right, left of some of the greens that we end up redesigning, putting some contour in there to just sort of add some diversity to the type of recovery shots that you need to play at this golf course. And as I've pointed out before, the interesting thing about these short grass areas is that often they're simpler to play from for higher handicap players, beginner players who just get down there in the short grass, take out a putter and whack it on the green. Whereas better players are a little bit more perplexed being next to a green where they've got an option to chip it, to pitch it, to putt it. Kind of creates more interest for them and kind of eases things up in many cases for higher handicap players. And in general, just makes the game a little bit more interesting for everyone. Bunkers, which are obviously the most visual feature on a golf course in most cases, particularly on a flatland course like the Derrick Club. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here, but as I mentioned, I couldn't believe it when I first looked at this course and saw that there were 11 par 4 and 5 holes without any bunkers off the tees. And principally for me, not only does that affect the interest of the golf course and the challenge that comes along with that, but it also presents a look off the tees that's similar on too many holes. You know, on so many par 4 and par 5 holes, you stand on the tee and you look out, it just looks like you're just hitting down a lawn, you know, between trees. There's no distinction between the holes because there's a lack of any interesting visual off the tee. which could be enhanced by installing some of the bunker schemes that we're proposing on the plan. But the most important issue with the bunkers at the Derrick Club is the drainage again. There are 56 bunkers on the golf course, and in my conversations with Daryl, 40 of them hold water after a significant rain event. You know, that, at a club of this stature, you know, with all due respect, sending your maintenance crew out with pumps to pump water out of bunkers, 40 of 56 bunkers, is not an ideal situation. So again, remodeling the course, getting into fixing some of these architectural deficiencies, draining the bunkers is also extremely important for those reasons. Again, I'll make this point as I did last night. You know, when you sometimes, or all the time, when you're looking at fixing the infrastructure of a golf course like this, you know, it starts to snowball, and you have to look at it from a design perspective. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen golf clubs make is that they'll go out and fix the deficiency of their bunkers, you know, putting in drainage, replacing sand, etc., without getting an architectural opinion on whether or not the bunkers are in the right place, or are there too many bunkers. I've seen clubs go out and spend $1.5 million fixing up bunkers, and then I'd go out and take a look at the golf course and say to myself, well, we could have got rid of 40 of them, you know, because they didn't make no sense, or we could have moved them into more interesting places. So again, that's where we're at with this. We're improving the function of the golf course is simply driving the need to look at the golf course from a design perspective. So that's how this is all played out. So again, we've taken a look at you know, removing some bunkers and replacing them with new ones. And again, you know, there's your green side bunker on the 15th hole, left green side. You know, in my view, again, I admit it, I'm a bit uppity. You know, I really take a lot of pride in my work, and I want to build the best stuff that I can possibly build. We had that conversation a lot here over the last 2 years in development of this plan. But that particular bunker there on your 15th green is a good example of a bunker that looks like it could literally be anywhere. You know, if you went to X course in Toronto or Y course in Vancouver, you know, we've all seen bunkers that look like that. And my intention with remodeling the bunkers at the Derrick Club would be to give this golf course a style, again, that's very distinctive to the Derrick Club. You know, we want people to want to play here because it's distinctive. And we want people to leave here thinking and telling other people, boy, you should see the Derrick Club. You know, rather than the Derrick Club just being another golf course that looks like, you know, any other golf course. And bunkers looking like this is nobody's fault. It's a product of time. You know, when a bunker's been sitting there for 40 years, it's been edged, the sand's getting old, et cetera, they just evolve and they end up kind of looking more sterile than maybe they even did 35 years ago. But that's why bunkers have a lifespan, and occasionally it's time to do something about that. That's another picture of the Wayne-Moissac course in Rhode Island that I mentioned. Again, that particular bunker style, the look of the green, set in an urban environment, residential environment there. I believe that's a very, very classy style, very classy looking golf course that would fit this property quite well. I seem to jump ahead of myself, but you know, getting back to the point that there are, in my opinion, too many looks off the tees, similar to your current 17th hole. And in our booklet and on the website where the plan is presented, we've got some photo visualizations that show my ideas in 3D. So when I flip the screen here, you'll see what our ideas are for this particular hole. There's the current tee shot at 17, and there's what we're proposing at 17. It's to place 3 fairway bunkers down the right-hand side, have a green side bunker on the left. You can see how the visuals are improved. The point of those bunker locations is to continue to provide plenty of room for people to play down the left-hand side. But the arrangement of the green and the green side bunker on the left is going to make the approach to the left-hand side more difficult. So that's what you call strategic golf course architecture. What you're going to want to do in most cases, ideally, is sort of hug the right-hand side where we've placed the bunkers, dangerous line of the green, to have a simpler approach. But again, plenty of room to play out to the left. Just it leaves a more difficult approach from that side of the fairway. Many of the features on the golf course, again, they suffer from the same maladies. The tees out here at the Derrick, there's a lack of design continuity, meaning that there's some forward tees that were sort of added, over time that probably aren't big enough and aren't built in the same style as some of the main tees. And, tees are very important. I think they're a feature that a lot of golfers don't pay a lot of attention to, but when you're at a golf course that has excellent tees, whether this is a picture of Essex Golf and Country Club again back in Ontario, and you can see the nice, rectangular tee there, properly sized, the presentation of tees that have, again, continuity of appearance and are properly sized it's an important thing. It's a first impression of every golf hole, and certainly the first impression of a first tee. So straightening out the tees from a design perspective would go a long way. Again, many of these tees are poorly drained, which is not a good thing. As I've pointed out, turf quality suffers mainly. So in the process of rebuilding the tees or reconfiguring the tees, we have an opportunity to do those things, improving soils, improving drainage, improving the size of the tees so that Darryl and his staff have more flexibility in terms of setup and dealing with wear and tear and whatnot. And again, we've also looked at forward tees. There's a forward tee yardage presented on the plan that we've done. That's something too that's going to develop over time if this plan is approved. I certainly would like to have a little bit more discussion with those golfers at the club that use the forward tees to make sure that we've got those particular tees in the right locations. At most clubs, the middle tees are usually in good positions. It's always the back tees and the forward tees. It sort of needs some tweaking. So we've certainly concentrated on those issues on the plan. And another idea that I have at a family-oriented club like this at the Derrick, I've seen this at several clubs and I've done it on a couple projects that I've worked on, but I think the creation of an even shorter course, particularly for junior golfers, is a really great idea. Actually, Trevor Doplin was telling me today down at Glencoe in Calgary they do it. And we did it at a course we did up at Sagebrush in British Columbia. Just pick a nice spot in the fairway that makes sense and put a little plate down. And junior golfers and beginner golfers and whoever wants to play golf from that particular set of tees, it might be a 4,000-yard course or a 4,200-yard course. They're able to learn the game and enjoy the game from even that further up set of markers, which could be rated for the purposes of them keeping handicaps and whatnot. So again, if we get an opportunity to move ahead with implementation of this plan, we look at a little bit more detail about creating a course such as that. Some native grass areas. At this particular time, as some of you probably know, golf, like a lot of things, is under quite a bit of scrutiny with regard to fuel usage, chemical usage, fertilizer usage, and whatnot. That's the state of our world today, which is a good thing. So on projects such as this, I always try to take a look at areas where we could possibly reduce the total area of maintained turf. The Derrick Club is kind of a tight golf course, and we certainly aren't proposing to grow up knee-high grass all over the place where people are going to lose golf balls. But there are some areas throughout the course where I think we can try to cultivate some native grass areas for the purposes of reducing those related outputs for the sake of the environment. I think it's also going to be an opportunity to beautify the golf course in a natural fashion. These particular areas too also serve as wildlife habitat, which is nice in an urban environment as this golf course is in. So anyway, those particular areas are illustrated on the plan as well, if you take a more detailed look at that. This is a golf course in New York called St. George's, and you can see they have